Once upon a time in a land far, far away, there was a team that not only scraped into the finals, but they were there to stay. The experts said they had little to no chance, finishing outside of the top 4 thinking they could make the big dance. They hit form at the most important time of the year, giving their fan base a huge reason to cheer. Training and playing all season, hoping to play deep into September to create a fairy tale that their fans will always remember.
Chills. Literal chills.
As my poetry credibility declines, we released a list of the 10 biggest upsets in an NRL final series in 2020. Now we're looking at teams from the NRL era that also defied the odds and had a surprisingly successful finals run that many fans and experts would not have predicted. For this list, the team must have finished outside of the top 4 and must have made either the preliminary final or the grand final. None of these teams ended up winning the big one, but they sure made their fan base proud by winning some of the most important games of the season as underdogs, as this is greatest game of all, and these are 10 fairy tale finals runs. Number 10, the Cowboys in 2004. With a regular season record of 12 wins, 11 losses and 1 draw, the Cowboys finished on 29 competition points, comfortably slotting into 7th spot on the ladder. 2 late wins over the Tigers and the Sharks gave them some much needed momentum to face off against the second place Bulldogs, who would eventually go on to win the grand final that season. After Bulldogs captain Steve Price got sent to the sin bin for a professional foul, the Cowboys scored the opening try through Luke O'Donnell. Then Matt Singh scored 2 straight tries from a crossfield kick, and Sonny Bill Williams would cross over for the Dogs, leaving the halftime score at 18-6 to the Cowboys. Matty Bowen would score an early second half try, but the Dogs scored 3 tries in 15 minutes to trail by 4 points. But this was the Cowboys' night as Matt Singh scored his 3rd try from the exact same play to seal a famous upset win for the Cowboys.
Underneath and over there,
The following week, they had to come up against the 3rd place Broncos after they shockingly lost to the 6th place Storm the week before. The Cowboys had never beaten the Broncos out of the 16 times they have clashed in the past. This was a very scrappy match with lots of errors, but both teams produced a brilliant defensive display. The only try in the match was scored by David Miles in the 24th minute thanks to a brilliant chip kick from Matty Bowen, where rookie fullback Carmichael Hunt would miss the ball for Miles to regather and score. Josh Hayden kicked 2 penalty goals in the match to leave the final score at 10-0 to the Cowboys. This meant Brisbane captain Gordon Tallis had played his final NRL match and the Cowboys were off to the preliminary final for the first time in the club's history. They beat 3rd place, knocked off 2nd place, now it was time to take on the minor premiers the Sydney Roosters for a spot in the grand final. The game erupted in the opening 2 minutes with Luke Ricketson flooring Nathan Feen.
Has resented something from Feen and Feen is on his back.
The Chooks would open the scoring through Ryan Cross, but the Cowboys hit back with Paul Bowman catching a Nathan Feen crossfield kick. 2 penalty goals late in the first half left the halftime score at 10-6 in favour of the Roosters. Ty Williams scored straight out of the break, but the Chooks hit back thanks to a brilliant short ball from Finch to Fittler. An incredible Josh Hannay flick pass infield for his winger Ty Williams levelled the scores at 16-all. Brett Finch hit a field goal with 5 minutes remaining to give the Chooks the lead, and Craig Fitzgibbon hit a penalty goal to leave the score at 19-16. The game ended in controversial circumstances, with Anthony Minicello knocking on, giving the Cowboys a scrum 10 metres out from the line. However, the referee blew full time, but many Cowboys fans would argue that they packed the scrum in time to force a time off, which would have gave them one last play to potentially score and book themselves a spot in the grand final. Number 9, the Knights in 2013. The Wayne Bennett project was in full effect in 2013 as the Knights were able to scrape into 7th place with 2 late wins over the Broncos and the Eels. They would come up against a very tough opposition in the previous year's minor premiers, the Bulldogs, in an elimination semi-final. Sam Perrott would score the first try, but after it was all the Knights as they scored 22 straight points, which included a brilliant try from Darius Boyd and an Achille Iwate try from a crossfield kick to leave the halftime score at 12-6. Chris Houston would be sin-binned for a professional foul, but the Dogs couldn't capitalise with Ben Barber suffering from an ankle injury, ruling him out for the game. This was also the match where Michael Ennis tried his best to get his team a penalty after being hit in a Beau Scott tackle. 2 Newcastle penalty goals and a Jeremy Smith try sealed the 22-6 win for the Knights. Next up, it was an even more difficult task as they took on the defending premiers Melbourne Storm. The first try came in the 21st minute through Achille Iwate, but the Storm hit back through Maurice Blair. Chris Houston scored just before the break to give the Knights a 12-4 lead. Matt Hilder would capitalise on a rare Billy Slater error to extend Newcastle's lead. The Storm hit back, scoring one of the great finals tries through Cesar Wonga. Jesse Bromwich also crashed over and the Knights would hold off the Storm to cap off a huge upset win, 18-16. A very strong Roosters side was next on the Knights list as they finished the regular season as minor premiers. This was also Danny Badiris' final NRL match and it ended in the worst possible fashion as he got knocked out from a Jared Waria-Hargraves hit-up. Both teams hit a penalty goal each and then Daniel Tupper would score the opening try in the 30th minute. Michael Jennings crossed over not long after to give the Chooks a 12-4 lead at the break. The second half was a Roosters onslaught with Michael Jennings grabbing second, Aiden Guerra getting a double, and Mitch Orbison adding to the total. The final score ended up being 40-14 to the Roosters, and they would go on to win the grand final against Manly. Number 8, the Warriors in 2008. The Warriors just scraped in the 8th spot on the ladder thanks to the Broncos beating the Knights and getting a huge win over the Eels in the final round. Many thought they would be a quick exit in the finals, knowing they had to come up against the defending premiers and that year's minor premiers in the star-studded Melbourne Storm. Tries to Anthony Quinn and Jerome Rapati and a penalty goal each would leave the score at 8-all at the break. Manu Vatuvei would score from a crossfield grubber to begin the second half with a massive Warriors try. Israel Folau would score down the Storm's right edge, and a late Greg Inglis field goal looked to have wrapped up the match for the Storm, but the Warriors kept fighting and pulled off a miracle game-winning try, pulling off one of the biggest finals upsets of all time. From that massive victory, the Warriors faithful had a reason to believe as 25,000 people sold out Mount Smart Stadium to watch their team take on the 4th place Roosters, who lost to the Broncos a week before. A Michael Wick kick on the inside the Lanso High would open the scoring for the Warriors. This match also saw a massive hit from Sia Soliola. Late in the first half, the Roosters hit back through youngster Mitch Pearce, and Anthony Minicello was awarded with a controversial penalty try. Braithen Astor kicked the field goal to leave the halftime score at 13-6 to the Chooks. Ohio would score his double to kickstart the Warriors in the second half, and what a half it was, as they ended up beating the Chooks 30-13 after tries from Ian Henderson, Lance Ohio throwing a beautiful pass to Manu Vatuvei in the corner, and Aiden Kirk, winning the second half 24-0. Up next, it was a very strong Manly Sea Eagles side at the Sydney Football Stadium. It was all Manly in the first half with tries to Brett Stewart, Steve Menzies, and one of the best finals tries you'll ever see from Steve Maddai.
And then a freakish ball by Stewart for Maddai. And Stephen Maddai. Big Manly have got their 3rd try. That's just too good.
Out of the break, the Sea Eagles continued their dominance with that year's Dalian medal winner Matt Orford, Glenn Stewart, Michael Robertson, Brett Stewart, and a late try from Aiden Kirk left the full-time score at 32-6. Manly would go on to beat the Storm in the grand final 40-0, which is a grand final record deficit. Number 7, the Roosters in 2010. After getting the wooden spoon in 2009, the 2010 Roosters finished in 6th place, winning their final 2 matches of the regular season. Their first task was to get past the 3rd place Tigers in what we now know as one of the best finals matches of all time. Desperate defence from the Chooks in the first half saw them save 4 tries, including 3 attempts from Gareth Ellis and 1 from Blake Ashford, but they couldn't stop Lottie Lakiri, who scored the opening try in the 27th minute. Bo Ryan would also score to leave the halftime score at 10-2 to the Tigers. Blake Ashford would score an intercept try, and Robbie Farah would kick a field goal early in the second half. That year's Dahlia medal winner Todd Carney set up 2 tries in the Roosters' comeback for his skipper Braithen Astor and his halves partner Mitchell Pearce. Star 5/8 Benji Marshall would suffer from a knee injury, making matters worse for the Tigers. A huge hit from Simon Dwyer forced Jared Warrior-Hargraves to lose the ball in the final minute, but the Roosters won the scrum against the feed, giving them one last chance to keep their season alive, and they took it with both hands, creating one of the greatest moments in rugby league history.
It's found Minicello. A long-range shot from Anasta. He's got it. Oh, what a kick. Anasta has nailed it.
The unbelievable field goal meant the game would go into golden point extra time, and the game would conclude in the 99th minute thanks to a Sean Kenny-Dow intercept try to give the Roosters a huge upset win. After losing to the Raiders a week earlier, the second place Panthers found themselves in a do-or-die semi-final against the Chooks. Mitchell Pearce would score the first try, and an interesting moment occurred in the 25th minute, with Travis Burns and Sam Perrott showing some unintentional love.
An aggressive kiss, isn't it?
Braithen Astor would score off a Mitchell Pearce pass to leave the score at 12-0 at the break. Sam Perrott would keep the momentum going for the Tricolours, but the Panthers finally cracked them thanks to a freakish play from Luke Walsh. But it wasn't enough for the Panthers to start a comeback, with Anthony Minicello, Todd Carney, and Sam Perrott scoring tries along with Wade Graham for Penrith, leaving the final score at 34-12. Up next was the 4th place Titans, who had earned a week off after beating the Warriors in the qualifying final. The first half went try for try, with Sam Perrott grabbing a double and Will Zillman crossing the stripe, leaving the halftime score at 12-6. From there, the Roosters dominated, scoring a further 20 unanswered points thanks to tries to Dan Conn, Braithen Astor, and Frank Paul Nuwasala, winning the match 32-6. The win booked themselves a ticket in the grand final against the minor premiers, the Dragons. The match started in controversial circumstances, with Mark Gasner scoring the first try, but in the lead-up, it looked like Brett Morris had stepped in the touch. However, the Roosters would take an 8-6 lead at the break, thanks to tries from Braithen Astor and Mitch Orbison. but that was as far as the Chooks would get as the Dragons pulled off a brilliant attacking display led by Clark Churchill medalist Darius Boyd. The final score would be 32-8 to the Dragons, with Jason Nightingale grabbing a double and Nathan Feen and Dean Young grabbing 1 try each. Number 6, the Dragons in 1999. The 6th place Dragons began their finals run in 1999 against the team they would eventually meet in the grand final in the 3rd place Melbourne Storm. Paul McGregor opened the scoring, but the Storm hit back 5 minutes later after a Luke Patton error leading to an Aaron Muir try. Rob Wishart would also crash over, leaving the halftime score at 10-4. A swifty step from Anthony Mundine set up Jamie Ainscough in the corner, but the Storm would hit back through Stephen Kearney after Colin Ward was sin bin for a professional foul. Anthony Mundine would also go to the bin, leaving the Dragons with 11 players on the field. But the Dragons' defence held strong as they wouldn't concede any more points in the match, but they certainly scored them, including Nathan Blacklock getting a hat-trick.
Takes on the fullback. He's away, Nathan Blacklock. This could be the match winner. There's the gallop. Blacklock is over for the Dragons,
leaving the final score at 34-10. Up next was the 4th place Roosters, and the Dragons turned a rugby league match into a soccer match in the opening 3 minutes.
Left foot. They try to keep it on the boot. Appo's in problems. Then he pulled Patton back out of it. And a chance for St George.
After that, it was try for try, with 4 pointers to Ivan Cleary, Brad Mackay and Brad Fittler, who crossed over just before half-time to tie the game. A try each straight out of half-time looked like the match was going to go down to the wire, but Rob Wishart and Nathan Brown sealed the win for the Dragons late in the second half, giving the Red V a 28-18 semi-final win.
28 points to 18. Beware of the Dragons.
In the preliminary final, it was their toughest task yet as they had to knock off the minor premiers, the Sharks. David Peachey would score a brilliant individual try to give the Sharks an 8-0 half-time lead. The Dragons needed something special in the second half to keep the best team in the comp from going through to the grand final. Step up Anthony Mundine. The man almost single-handedly put the Dragons on his back and carried them through to the grand final, scoring a hat-trick. After beating the Storm in the qualifying final, all the Dragons needed to do to win the grand final was do it all again. Things looked promising for the Red V as they went out to a 14-0 half-time lead, with tries to Craig Fitzgibbon and Nathan Blacklock. A massive turning point in the game came in the 50th minute where Anthony Mundine lost the ball over the line, and after that big mistake, the Storm started a comeback as they eventually took the lead in the final 5 minutes thanks to a Craig Smith penalty try, which gave the Storm their first premiership. Number 5, the Warriors in 2011. A rookie halfback, a talented backline, and a hard-hitting forward pack led the Warriors through an incredible finals run in 2011. Finishing in 6th place, they would take on the 3rd place Broncos after losing to them a month prior thanks to a Peter Wallace field goal in the final 90 seconds. This qualifying final was a little less closer than people expected, with the Broncos dominating the match, leading at halftime 18-0 and finishing the match with a 40-10 victory, with the youthful Broncos backline staying alive where it mattered most. The McIntyre 8 final system meant that the Warriors would get a second chance, with both the 1st place Storm and the 2nd place Sea Eagles both getting wins in the first week. It was no easy task for the Warriors as they came up against the 4th place Tigers, who came into the match on a 9-game winning streak. Keith Galloway and Benji Marshall scored the first 2 tries, with the Warriors hitting back through James Maloney. A poor Warriors read from marker led to a simple Robbie Farrow try, which left the halftime score at 18-6. Tries to Folletti Mateo and Lance O'Hire would bring them within 2 points. Then, with 3 minutes remaining, a crossfield kick came down with the Warriors centre Kristen Inu, where he scored a controversial game-winning try.
Knocked down, grabbed. Oh, shit. Well, now he's saying he's not held.
It's a try to the Warriors.
The heavy favourites to win the title were up next in the minor premiers the Storm, with a spot in the grand final up for grabs. Sikamano would score the first try, but the Warriors returned serve with Bill Tupou scoring from a crossfield kick. A rare mistake from that year's 2011 Dally medal winner Billy Slater led to a James Maloney try under the sticks. A Bow champion runaway try and a late James Maloney penalty goal would leave the halftime score at 14-12 to the Warriors. Holding on to a 2-point lead for pretty much all the second half, the Warriors rookie halfback Sean Johnson stepped up in the dying stages to set up an incredible Lewis Brown try in the corner to pull off a huge upset and send the Warriors to the grand final. The Manly Sea Eagles were waiting for them in the big dance, winning all of their finals matches by a margin of 12 points or more. Massive hits in the opening 10 minutes set up what promised to be a great grand final.
So that's square, it's 15-all.
The first try was scored in the 35th minute thanks to a brilliant inside ball from Daly Cherry Evans to Brett Stewart. The other Stuart, Glenn, pulled off a risky play coming out of their own end, but it resulted in a Daly Cherry-Evans try just before half-time, leaving the score at 12-2 at the break. A brilliant Will Hopewade pass infield set up Glenn Stewart to score, but the Warriors would score 2 quick tries to come within 8 points. A late Jamie Lyon try would put the result beyond doubt and break the hearts of the Warriors as they would continue to search for their first premiership. Number 4, the Bulldogs in 2014. 2014 saw one of the more closest seasons in recent memory, with only 8 points separating 1st and 8th place. The Bulldogs finished in 7th place and would come up against the 6th place Storm. The Dogs had a dream start, scoring a point a minute as they ran away to an 18-0 lead after 18 minutes, thanks to tries from Greg Eastwood, Trent Hogginson, and an intercept try from Tim Laffey. Laffey would score again just before half-time, extending the lead with a score of 24-0 at half-time. A pinpoint accurate crossfield kick from Cooper Cronk to Cecil Wonga finally got the Storm on the board. Shortly after, the Storm pulled off one of the best no tries you'll ever see.
And Cronk goes across the line. Smith is there. Slater joins in, holds the ball in one hand, gets it back, and they go for the line. It comes out the back. It's gone out from Smith. They go for the intercept. There's 6 more tackles on hand for the Melbourne Storm. Now it's with Hoffman. Now it's with Fanua. Fanua to the 10-metre line, struggling to get rid of the ball. I don't know that they know they had 6 more. They've got another 6. Now it's gone away from Korobidi with him. Korobidi, 9 metres out, gets the ball away to Wonga. Wonga scores! That is a rugby league parlour. That goes in the gallery. That's in the gallery. Whatever museum you can find, just put it there.
Try tragedy as well.
This is not how the game should be refereed. Honestly, it is not how our game should be refereed.
Well, it didn't look like
you're killing the moment. You really are.
Oh, I think they're going to rule against this.
That's a disgrace.
They are.
Jeez, I hate this video referee rubbish. I absolutely hate it.
Call, I will give it.
That was historic, and they buried it.
Tim Laffey would complete his hat-trick, with the Dogs moving on to the next round with a 28-4 victory. NRL fans were treated to 2 of the best finals matches of all time in 1 week, with the Roosters versus the Cowboys and this classic between the Sea Eagles and the Bulldogs, as they gave us 2 unforgettable finishes. Like they did against the Storm, the Bulldogs started strong, running out to a quick 16-0 lead with tries to Mitch Brown, Corey Thompson and Sam Perrott. Jaden Hodges gave Manly some hope by crashing over 15 seconds before half-time, leaving the score at 16-6. Brett Stewart scored a great individual try, and with 10 minutes to go, Chase Blair would score after a Michael Ennis mistake to tie the game. The Dogs also had to defend their line with 12 men after Rennie Matua got sin bin for throwing a punch. For the rest of the match, it was a battle of the field goals, as Trent Hogginson hit one with 5 minutes remaining to give the Dogs the lead. Daly Cherry-Evans replied in kind by hitting one of his own to tie the game and send it into golden point extra time. After scoring the game-winning try in Origin 2 that year to break the Maroons' 8-year series winning streak and saving the Dogs countless situations during the season, Trent Hogginson once again stood up in the clutch to kick the game-winning field goal, breaking the hearts of the Sea Eagles.
From Hutchinson, they've got it! They've got the kick! They've got the game!
A Jamie Soward field goal in the final minute against the first place Roosters in the qualifying final meant the 4th place Panthers got the week off, meaning they were fresh and ready to take on the Dogs. The Panthers started off quite poorly, making a number of errors in the opening half, which led to tries to James Graham and Josh Jackson. Penrith scored late in the first half through youngster Matt Moylan, leaving the score at 12-6 at the break. Michael Ennis would miss the remainder of the match with a foot injury, and it sparked the Panthers, with Lewis Brown saving a certain Sam Perrott try.
You think he's got the score there, and Brown doesn't.
And then Moylan
Puts it on his own chest.
There he goes now, Moylan.
No.
That's Brown. Brown again.
Oh, is it? Is it? Oh, no! Missed by that much.
The spark didn't last long, as Dale Finucane would crash over the score, but the Panthers weren't ready to lie down, as Dallin Watene-Zelezniak caught a towering Jamie Soward bomb to come within a converted try. It came down to the final whistle, but the Dogs held on to win 18-12. After losing the preliminary final 2 years in a row in 2012 and 2013, it was third time lucky for the Rabbitohs in 2014, as they beat the top 2 teams during the finals to reach the big one. The first play of the grand final saw Sam Burgess fracture his cheekbone after a head clash with James Graham. The star front rower incredibly was able to play through the injury and still managed to play at the extremely high level that he's known for. Alex Johnston would score the first and only try of the first half, giving the Bunnies a 6-0 lead at half time. The Dogs evened up the score thanks to a Josh Reynolds kick to Tony Williams, and the scores would remain the same until George Burgess barnstormed his way through the Bulldogs' defence to start a second half onslaught with tries to Kirasoma Ava, Adam Reynolds and Greg Inglis, leaving the final score at 30-6, breaking both the Rabbitohs' 43-year premiership drought and the hearts of the Bulldogs. Number 3, the Cowboys in 2017. Speaking of the Bulldogs, they actually played a huge role in this unlikely finals run from the Cowboys in 2017. The Townsville boys lost to the Broncos in the final round, which meant the 8th spot on the ladder would be decided in a match between the 9th place Dragons and the 12th place Bulldogs. If the Dragons win, they clinch 8th spot. If the Bulldogs win, the Dragons miss the 8 and the Cowboys scrape in. The Bulldogs ended up winning the match 26-20 thanks to a Michael Leisha game-winning try in the final 8 minutes, which ended the Dragon season. The Cowboys had to begin their finals run against the defending premiers the Sharks in what was a classic finals match. They would have to go through the finals with no Matt Scott or Jonathan Thurston, as they both suffered from injuries during the season. Chad Townsend would capitalise on an Antonio Wintersign error to open the scoring in the first couple of minutes. James Maloney would be sin-binned only 30 seconds into half-time for a professional foul. The Cowboys took advantage of the extra man with Cole Felt scoring in the corner straight out of the break, but the Sharks hit back with Jack Bird touching down. Jason Taumalolo would show off his brutal strength and determination to fight his way over 5 Sharks defenders to score a great try. A controversial penalty was awarded to the Cowboys, which meant Ethan Lowe could tie the game with a penalty goal in the final 3 minutes. The controversy continued into the final 30 seconds as Paul Gallen lost the ball in a tackle, but he claimed that it was stripped out, meaning the Sharks could have kicked a penalty goal to win the game.
He's short, but Maloney's 15 out. Oh, he's lost it! He's lost the ball! Lost it!
But the game went into extra time with Michael Morgan kicking a field goal to win the game for the Cowboys. The 4th place Eels were up next after they lost by 2 points to the minor premiers the Storm a week before. Star winger Semi Radradra would sprint 95 metres to score the opening try, but the Cowboys hit back with Kyle Felt. Will Smith also scored a runaway try to give the Eels a 10-6 lead at half time. The Blue and Golds let the ball bounce after a towering kick from Michael Morgan, which saw Johnny Asiato score a try. A beautiful inside ball from Tamari Martin to Cohen Hess and a great individual try from Michael Morgan would give the Cowboys a shocking 24-16 victory. A spot in the grand final was up for grabs for the Cowboys as they took on the 2nd place Roosters, who were fresh from a week off after beating the 3rd place Broncos thanks to a game-winning try from Latrell Mitchell.
Mitchell's on his way! Mitchell's on his way! Latrell Mitchell!
Tamari Martin scored the first try in the 23rd minute, but Latrell Mitchell would score from a crossfield kick to leave the score at 8-6 at half-time. It was try for the second half, with Connor Watson scoring for the Chooks, Kane Linnett scoring from a Michael Morgan pass, and Blake Ferguson scoring in the corner, and Kyle Felt incredibly sneaking the ball inside the corner post to score a great try.
That's a try.
The Roosters just couldn't quite get the simple things right as they kicked the ball dead on the full for the 2nd time in the match, which allowed the Cowboys to kick a penalty goal, Michael Morgan to kick a field goal, and Scott Bolton to score from a one-on-one steal to give the Cowboys a huge 29-16 upset win and a spot in the grand final. The star-studded Melbourne Storm were waiting for them in the grand final after they smashed the Broncos 30-0 in the preliminary final. It was also the final match with the big three of Smith, Slater and Cronk all playing together after leading the Storm to a hugely successful decade. The success would continue for the Storm as they dominated in the first half, taking an 18-0 lead with tries to Josh Adokar, Felice Kafusi and Billy Slater. The Cowboys could only cross the line once this match through Tamari Martin, and from there it was all the Storm as they ran away to win the grand final 34-6 and ending a great finals run for the Cowboys. Number 2, the Eels in 2009. The 2009 Eels had a reason to believe as they won 7 of their final 8 matches of the regular season, going from 14th place to scrape into 8th place within 8 rounds. Their success was largely built on their star fullback and Dally M medal winner Jared Hayne, who had one of the best individual seasons that we have ever seen. After losing to the minor premiers the Dragons in the final round, they had to take them on again in the qualifying final. Luke Burt and Daniel Mortimer scored first half tries for the Eels, and Dan Hunt would score for the Dragons just before half time, leaving the score at 12-8 to the Eels. Eric Groth would score an intercept try to extend the lead, but the Dragons hit back through Brett Morris. But a late Luke Burt field goal and a spectacular Jared Hayne try in the final 10 minutes sealed this massive upset win for the Eels.
Hayne to the line, dancing around Dragons defenders. Still goes! Still bounced off or stepped aside. Here he goes. There's 1, 2 on the inside of 3. In between 4 and 5, 6, 6, 7, 8. Round them and then across the try line.
Next up, it was the third place Titans who lost to their local rivals the Broncos in the qualifying final. It was all the Eels in this match, with Feleti Mateo and Ben Smith grabbing 4-pointers and Jared Haynes slotting through a field goal on the siren, leaving the score at 13-2 at the break.
He takes the field goal shot. It's successful.
It was much of the same in the second half, with Kevin Kingston and Jonathan Wright adding a couple of tries, leaving the final score at 27-2. They would have to beat their arch rivals in the second place Bulldogs in front of the largest finals crowd in the NRL era, as nearly 75,000 people packed out Stadium Australia to watch one of the great preliminary finals. It was also Hazem El Masri's final NRL match after playing his whole incredible 14-year, 317-game career at the Bulldogs. Bryson Goodwin scored a brilliant try in the corner, which was a possible 8-point try after Jared Hayne led with his knees to try and stop the try. Joe Nollival would hit back for the Eels, but the Dogs scored just before the break through Josh Morris as the Eels would trail 12-6 at the break. Luke Burt would score, and some brilliant quick hands led to a Tim Manor try. Daniel Mortimer would score late for the Eels as they pulled off yet another upset, beating the Bulldogs 22-12. For the fourth year in a row, the Melbourne Storm found themselves in the grand final as they would take on the Eels after they comprehensively beat both the defending premiers, the Sea Eagles and the Broncos, to reach the big dance. The first half was all the Storm as Ryan Hoffman and Adam Blair scored tries to leave the halftime score at 10-0. Eric Groth crossed over just after the break, but Greg Inglis hit back after catching a bomb to score, and Billy Slater would crash over to extend the lead to 16 points. But the Eels wouldn't lie down as they started a comeback with tries to Joel Reddy and big Fui Fui Moi Moi, who scored one of the great grand final tries to come within a converted try.
Fui Fui has scored a grand final corker.
But Greg Inglis would break the hearts of the Eels fans by kicking a field goal to ice the game at 23-16. And number 1, the Bulldogs in 1998. From 9th place to the grand final as the Bulldogs shocked the newly formed NRL competition by going all the way to the big dance. Victories to the Sharks and the Sea Eagles meant that the Bulldogs had to beat the Illawarra Steelers to make the finals, and they scraped through by the skin of their teeth, with the Craig Pollamanta field goal being the difference in a 25-24 victory over the Steelers. They squared off against the 8th place Dragons in the minor preliminary semi-final after beating them in a round 22 clash a few weeks earlier. The result wouldn't change as the Dogs ran out winners 20-12, eliminating the Dragons from the competition in what was the final match for them as a standalone club before merging with the Illawarra Steelers. The 5th place North Sydney Bears were up next after they lost to the Eels a week earlier. The Bulldogs won by a surprisingly large margin, with the final score being 23-2, knocking out the Bears in what would be their last finals match as a club in the NRL. Waiting for them in the elimination preliminary final was the 2nd place Knights after they lost to the 6th place Roosters in the major semi-final. The Dogs were without their star 5'8" Craig Pollamanta after suffering from an injury against the Bears. The Knights started out strong, running out to a commanding 16-0 lead after 29 minutes thanks to tries from Brett Grogan, Jason Moody and Mark Hughes. The Dogs were able to score through Glenn Hughes to make the score at 16-6 at half-time. The second half erupted with a fight in the 44th minute between Peter Shields and Robert Ralph.
The walk back. Now Newcastle have come up with an error. There's a ball thrown from Peter Shields. Now there's punches. Shields and Ralph. This all started with Shields throwing the ball at Robert Ralph. He wasn't about, well, he threw leather of a different kind if he had the gloves on.
2 penalty goals from sharpshooter Daryl Halligan allowed the Dogs to come within a converted try. Corey Hughes would score to tie the game with just over 10 minutes remaining, which would eventually send the game into extra time. Bulldogs captain Darren Britt would score under the sticks to break the deadlock, and Rod Silver scored late to seal the 28-16 victory. Up next is now known as one of the greatest finals matches of all time, as the Bulldogs took on the 4th placed Eels after beating both the Bears and the Broncos to reach the preliminary final. The Eels opened the scoring through Shane Werrett, and they would score again just before half time thanks to a brilliant play from Dallas Weston to set up Clinton Chavoski in the corner, leaving the score at 12-2 at half time. Down 18-2 with just over 10 minutes remaining, it looked like the Bulldogs season was all but over. Craig Pollamanta scored off a Jason Hetherington pass to give the Dogs some hope. A great offload from Robert Ralph sent speedster Rod Silver away to score and come within a converted try. Willie Talau would score the Bulldogs' 3rd try in 10 minutes, which gave Daryl Halligan a kick from the sideline to tie the game and complete a 16-point comeback.
Has there been a more important kick for Canterbury? He hits it. If it hooks it, it's staying on the line. He's got it. Oh, the man is a
Messiah. He's a freak. That's it, freak.
Parramatta's Paul Carriage almost pulled off one of the biggest blunders in NRL history as he kicked the ball back to the Dogs on the siren for full time, which allowed Craig Parramatta to have a 48-metre shot at field goal, and he actually almost got it.
Carriage put a kick on it. He's taken a shot. Canterbury's taken a shot, and it's fallen short.
It's just gone under.
Oh, well, now they're claiming that to goal. This is all we've got to offer.
It's over. Oh, hang on. Well,
The game went into extra time and Parramatta would make amends and kick a one-pointer in the first set of 6, scored a try not long after, and kicked another field goal on top of a late Travis Norton try to win a historic preliminary final, 32-20. The grand final was set as the Dogs would take on the minor premiers the Broncos, who actually lost to the Eels in the major semi-final, but convincingly beat the Storm and the Roosters to reach the grand final. The Dogs incredibly took a 12-10 lead at halftime with tries to Tony Grimaldi and Willie Talau.
They're going to score. Talau. Willie Talau goes kapow.
However, that would be the last time the Dogs would score as the Broncos came out firing in the second half, scoring 28 unanswered points, led by brilliant performances in the middle by Tony Carroll and the Clive Churchill medal winner Gordon Tallis. Nevertheless, considering the Bulldogs went from 9th spot to the grand final, we believe that the 1998 Bulldogs finals run was the most unlikely finals run of the NRL era, perfectly defining a fairy tale finals run. So, what did you think of our list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, chuck us a like on Facebook and this video, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our channel for more Rugby League Countdowns.